you guys need a minute? Very good.
Well, let's do it, Carol. You are the leader. You're the rogue leader, so whenever you want to start.
What is the feature-length podcast? Anyone?
The feature-length podcast is a show where three idiots talk about film and entertainment.
Good answer.
Hey guys, what's up?
Hey, are you talking to us?
Yeah. I'm talking to the voices in my head.
Like, I truly don't know. It felt like a fever dream. I swear to God, I could not
It sounds
make
so
this shit
stupid
up.
hearing that.
If you're listening to this is a podcast.
Welcome back to the feature-length podcast.
Welcome back to the feature-length podcast.
Welcome back to the feature-length podcast, a podcast where we talk about movies and TV for a feature length of time. Alright, hello everyone, and welcome to the feature-length podcast. This is a podcast where we talk about movies and TV shows for about the length of a feature film. So this podcast is hosted by myself, Carolina, Marco,
Hi.
and Dan.
Hello.
And now, this is the episode that I have been waiting for since we started the podcast. Our last episode was the one that Marco had been waiting for. Now it's my turn. And it is the third time I've seen this film. And the third watch was just moments ago with my co-hosts, which was a treat. And I still struggle to summarize this film. But I will try my best to give a kind of in-depth summary because I assume, for the good of everyone, that you haven't seen this film. Hey guys, Carolina here, editor of this episode. Under my sheets, to give a quick disclaimer, when I described the movie and named the characters, I said there was a character named Mr. McCavity, and then I talked about the bad guy, McCavity. I made an oops. I meant to say Mr. Mistopheles, just because I assume most people haven't seen the movie or play. Didn't want you to get confused when we talk about him later. Yeah, so my bad. McCavity's the bad guy. Mr. Mistopheles the magical one. It's not that important, but just wanted to be clear. Okay, keep enjoying the episode. Thanks. So, Cats 2019. Directed by Tom Hooper. Written by Lee Hall, Tom Hooper, and based on the musical by Andrew Lloyd Webber. It's a movie. There's a bunch of street cats. In this film, they're just humans in CGI cat bodysuits, and for some reason they call themselves Jellicle. It's never, like, really defined. It just kind of means, like, a nice street cat. At the beginning of the film, a new cat gets dropped off. They introduce her to the world, and the rest of the film is just you being introduced to the rest of the cats. Some highlights include Jason Derulo exuding horniness, and his name is Rum Tum Tugger. Obviously a tongue twister. Obviously gonna be the horniest cat. Rebel Wilson, who zips off her skin to reveal some clothing underneath. And more skin underneath that, I don't know. There's some cats that steal jewelry from rich people. James Corden sings about how fat he is. There's a cat named Mr. McCavity, which has a cool name, and we like that, I guess. Jennifer Hudson shows up looking sad. There's also an evil cat named McCavity, played by Idris Elba, and he steals cats and makes them disappear, but they really just teleport to a boat on the Thames. And about an hour into the film, we discover the real, I guess, point or motivation of the movie. I have a lot of question marks around all of those, which is essentially that there's a talent show that happens every year, and the Jellicle cats all perform in, called the Jellicle Ball, and the winner of which is decided by an older cat named Old Deuteronomy, played by Dame Judi Dench. And the winner gets to go to the Heaviside layer, which is kind of like heaven, but they're told they get a new life. And so then the rest of the movie is a talent show, and Taylor Swift and Sir Ian McKellen show up to perform, and Jennifer Hudson ends up winning and going to heaven, and then Judi Dench sings directly into your soul. And yeah, that's kind of it. That's the film we just watched. Mm-hmm. So guys, what are your thoughts? Just to preface, Marco had never seen this film until, 2 hours ago. Dan had seen it one other time, and as I mentioned, this was my third viewing. So, Dan, how about, or not Dan, Marco, you start.
All right.
We started watching this at noon and we're drinking along with it, by the way.
Yeah. What are my thoughts? Okay. Okay, look, this movie is awful. Goes without saying. But I don't think, like, we've talked about bad movies on this podcast.
Sure.
But, like, this movie isn't even a movie. It's really bad.
It's a musical experience.
It's
what you mean, right?
Okay, here's what I'll say. Well, let me just hit it on all fronts, okay? Visually, it's one of the ugliest movies I've ever seen in my life. Like, not even, like, obviously, I know the cat CGI is weird. Like, that's been talked to death. But just, like, visually, the way everything is, like, lit, it looks fucking disgusting. Like, it is so gross to just look at all times. It's never nice looking. Editing-wise, really odd. There are some weird, like, just choices, like, cutting between stuff, and pacing-wise, really odd, which leads into the story, of which there is none. The first hour and a half of this movie is just cats singing songs about themselves, and then at the end there's a tiny little bit of plot, but that plot, it doesn't even, like, they just resolve it, like, the McCavity, like, steals Judi Dench, and then they just bring, and then they just, like, and then they just bring her back, they just sing a song about how they want to bring her back, and then they bring her back, and then that's it, like, that's how they defeat him, is they just bring her back with magic, and then what's her name goes to heaven or whatever. So Grisabella. Jennifer Hudson. I'm just gonna call them by their names. I can't remember these cat names. So yeah, then Jennifer Hudson goes to heaven after singing the memory song. Speaking of songs, yeah, the music terrible. I should say, like, I am a pretty big Andrew Lloyd Webber stan. I know he's kind of like, not like ironically liked in the musical world, but he's definitely not what, like, real musical nuts think of in terms of being like, refined, let's say. Like, his stuff is very kind of obvious, but I don't like mind that, because, like, that I don't have necessarily super refined, like, music taste. So, like, I really like Jesus Christ Superstar unironically. I really like Phantom of the Opera unironically. I think they're enjoyable, even though the stories are weird. They have good music, good performances. I feel like they're well-made movies. The music is bad, and then there are, like, every once in a while there'll be, like, random, like, melodies and stuff that, like, sound like stuff from Phantom, and it's like, okay, great. So it's just, like, him trying that out. Yeah, and then, yeah, the performances are really weird. I don't know how they got the people to be in this movie that they did.
Yeah, they have a studded cast.
Yeah, I just have to say, like
everyone's in it.
Like, I'm not doing this justice. Like, it's not just bad. Like, it is, like, a fever dream of nonsense. And also, like, we were watching it at home. Carol, you mentioned my last episode, very comfy couch, right?
Yeah.
We're all sitting on my comfy furniture watching this movie. We're day drinking, having a good time. And, like, I still, like, felt the urge of, like, I wish I could walk out of this movie. Like, if I had seen this, like, in a movie theater, I don't think I would have made it past the half-hour mark, because it is complete nonsense. So, anyway, those are my thoughts. Dan?
Yeah, Dan. Second viewing, you've had time to digest. We got Marco's fresh takes.
The first time I watched it, I was sober. But I actually, like, I absorbed more of it this time. I think. I don't know how. But I guess just to reiterate, I don't disagree with anything either of you have said so far. Whether it be your description of the plot, Carol, or your criticisms of the lack thereof.
Yeah, I tried my best to give it a plot.
Yeah. Okay. Let me just get this out right now. So, my biggest problem with a Cats movie is the Cats play, obviously, is people in cat outfits, because, to state the obvious, you cannot train cats to perform in a play or musical.
Right.
With a movie, you now have the opportunity to, for example, make it animated and just make it cats, not cat humanoids.
Yeah.
But they did not do that.
Right.
They did not.
Instead, they chose to make this disgusting abomination of like furries, basically, in mocap. So like it that's the most confusing part to me. Is like Cats the musical isn't. They're not humanoid cats because that's like part of the story. I don't think that was supposed to be like what Andrew Lloyd Webber was like going for. It was just because you had to have people play the cats.
Yeah.
So this movie is just so unnecessary on all fronts, but particularly the look of the cats. Because, and like, we'll get into the story or lack thereof, like I said, but even regardless of that, like, that's a flaw on its own. Regardless of the writing, if this was like just a simple animated movie with cats, it would have been leagues better, at least like look wise.
Yeah.
But now we get to the story, okay? Because the story is just cats introducing themselves for an hour and 50 minutes.
Yeah.
There's really no character. Like the character we're told is the protagonist says almost nothing during the entire film, does nothing during the entire film, and I think there's one, like, I guess there's Jennifer Hudson's character, like Marco said, is probably the only one with, like, anything resembling an arc, but even that is so lackluster. There's really no one to latch onto, so you're just left laughing at the movie and the choices, and,
Yeah.
I'll put it there for now.
Yeah, so as I mentioned, this is my third time watching this. I kind of consider this movie cursed a little bit, simply because the first time I watched it was the weekend before everything shut down for the pandemic in 2020, with my, 5 friends in Ottawa. And then we decided to watch it for the year anniversary of the pandemic, and then we all got COVID.
No,
Because
so
my roommate got it commuting to work.
Oh, God.
Yeah, sorry. Probably should have mentioned that earlier. This movie's cursed. I don't know what's going to happen to us. But every time I watched it prior to this, I played a drinking game that involved us drinking every time they said Jellicle. Which
you
is,
would be hammered.
Which is 128 times.
Holy shit.
And, drinking every time a cat's wearing shoes. Just, very random things. So, I never remembered the end of the film. I usually started to completely tune out around the railway cat, if that means anything to anyone who has watched the film. If not, it's the second or third talent show we'll call performance for the Jellicle choice. So pretty close to the end, but still surprisingly far from the end. So this was the first time, because we're obviously just casually drinking. It is, noon. We're not crazy raging alcoholics. So this is the first time I think I paid attention to and fully absorbed the last third of the film. So I would say honestly it's my first time watching it in full. Yeah, so as I'd say probably the biggest musical nerd of the three of us, in theory, I hear Cats, for some reason successful, Broadway musical, is being made into a movie. I was willing to check it out. Obviously didn't check it out in theaters. And then I watched it and didn't fully understand the appeal. I thought maybe I would with time or less alcohol. I still don't, in theory. This is movie aside, just Cats as a concept. I don't get it.
Yeah.
I don't know why it ran for so long on any theater circuit. The music isn't that great. There isn't a story, as we all mentioned, and we'll I guess get into more later. I don't know, maybe in person people like the costumes. I fully don't understand.
So here's from what I know just from YouTube and stuff.
Nice.
Is that basically most of the appeal of it, because the musical is even more scaled down from this. They added a lot to this to try and make it a story. The musical is mostly just about it's very I don't want to say experimental, but it's very abstract and kind of just about the vibes of it. It's more just an album. It's just music with production value, and so it's more just you go there for an hour and there's like cool production value, and you leave. Like it was never anything like, and even then it was never like on the level of something like Phantom or whatever, of people being like, this changed my life. It's more just like, yeah, I went and did this thing, and you know, it was fun, and you leave and you never think about it again. But then this adaptation tries to turn it into like Les Mis, you know what I mean? It's like we need like a plot, and there's got to be emotional stakes, and it's like that was never the intention behind Cats.
Yeah, like in my opinion, the only good song is Magical Mr. Mistopheles, which sounds pretty similar to the rest of the songs in the film.
Yeah.
But it's like fun, everyone like chants together, he does like magic, I don't know, maybe I like magicians, who knows. But I guess we can get into the actual film now, because my thoughts are just, you know, it was a film with music and the music wasn't great.
Yeah.
And I've now watched it 3 times. Will I ever watch it again? Probably not. I just wanted to watch it again for this podcast. I'll probably forget about it forever.
Yeah, to be clear, I'm never watching this movie. Under no circumstances, no matter how inebriated I am never watching this movie again.
What if Maddie wants to see it?
No. Matt, if you're listening to this and you want to watch Cats, you're going to have to find someone else. I could not sit through it again. I don't think I could.
But I do not recommend watching it alone. Please find
No,
someone.
you could. I mean, you couldn't finish
painful.
it. You couldn't finish it alone, I don't think. Like, I only finished it because you guys are here, and I was like, well, we have to do this, like, for the podcast. But, yeah, Dan, what's your favorite song in this? Carol said hers is the Mistopheles, so...
I'd probably just have to say Memories, just because that's the
Yeah.
one that, like, that's the song that made it into, like, the mainstream, I think.
Yeah.
Like, that's the one that everyone's
Everyone
probably
would
heard
probably
before.
recognize it, yeah.
I would probably say Memories too, just because it's the only song that doesn't sound like every other song in the movie. Like every song in this movie is just like boring and like dumb, and it's all just like cats like making funny rhymes about their existence or whatever. Memories is the only one that's like a song with like a recognizable like melody and is like about something, and what it's about is stupid.
Well, that's the thing. Even the film starts out with a song about the Jellicle cats, because you're dropped into this like alleyway with a bunch of cats, and they're calling themselves Jellicle. So you think you're gonna learn what that means, but instead they just rhyme a bunch of words together, and it's all nonsense.
Yeah.
It's like Jellicle cats are big. No, they're small. No, they're moderate. We've been around forever. We've been around since like the Egyptians and before Queen Victoria. But also we're brand new. We sit in king's thrones. We jump really high. Like it's absolute nonsense.
From what I don't know if you have notes on this, Carol.
Yeah.
You took a lot of notes, but
Yes.
I guess from what I understand is that I guess Andrew Lloyd Webber like based this off of some writings that were just like poetry or something. Like it was just nonsense, like children's poetry nonsense.
Poetry by T.S. Eliot.
T.S. Eliot.
Yeah.
That is, you know, Dan, T.S. Eliot. You know what I'm thinking of when I hear T.S. Eliot?
I'm trying to think what else he did. I've heard his name before.
Spider-Man 2. Remember when Doc Ock is talking about how he met Rosie, and he's like, I was studying quantum mechanics, and she was trying to teach me about T.S. Eliot.
Oh, he's a poet then. Okay.
Yeah, and I guess Andrew Lloyd Webber just like took a lot of those poems and put them into like songs.
Music.
To shitty music.
You know, okay. My problem with the music overall is that it doesn't, like, the genre hops so much between songs. Like, one time it's like church music, and then it's like pop music, and it just does not gel together. Like, I look over, like, okay. I don't think we mentioned yet that Tom Hooper directed this. Or maybe, did you mention it in your intro?
I mentioned it in the intro.
I'm a little buzzed.
Tom Hooper, who directed Les Mis, which we've talked about before.
Yes.
Which was a very good musical adaptation. We all agreed.
Yeah.
Fantastic.
The Schindler's List of musicals,
Yes.
some would say.
Yeah. Everyone sang live. Fun fact, also sang live for this. Tom Hooper insists upon it.
Oh my god, they did sing live for
They
this?
sang live.
That's like the one thing with integrity.
Yeah.
Well, yeah, because it is, like, they are dancing almost all, very intricate, like, ballet. So it is impressive that they are, you know, fully belting this nonsense music as they do so.
I mean, yes, yeah.
Gotta give them that. That's the one positive.
Sure.
Yeah.
But just on the note of Tom Hooper, so, like, obviously my first, like, reaction to this is to look back on Les Mis, and, like, that movie is all one genre of music, and it makes sense. And also, all of that music isn't in the context of the characters going, I'm going to sing you a song. All of that music is dialogue, just in musical form. Where in this movie, like, diegetically, the characters are singing songs. Maybe that's just me, but I find that a little bit, like, jarring to be, like, like they're interrupting themselves, but also like apparently they've written these songs and like planned to perform them.
Yeah.
But they're making stuff up on the spot, so it doesn't really make sense. It's sort of like they wanted their cake and also to eat it too.
Yeah, I'm totally with you.
Especially those two fat cats on my right. Of course they wanted to eat cake.
The cake with the cockroaches on?
That was also very bizarre. I don't know why they like insisted upon having two cats whose only personality traits were I'm lazy, I'm fat. Which is Rebel Wilson and James Corden.
Yeah.
For reference.
Yeah, James Corden's really cringy.
They had entire songs about how lazy and fat they were each, respectively.
You know what James Corden's problem is? It's that, like, he just tries way too hard. Like,
listen, he's just an adult theater kid with a platform. Leave him alone.
I know, but like I've seen him in clips and stuff, and like he has the potential to be funny, like naturally funny. Like he's not like lame, but he just you're right. You're totally right. He's just a theater kid that like never grew up and now has a platform, and he's like, so fucking like pushy.
Immature.
Yeah, and it's like just take a step back, just. It's fine. Like, you're funny. You do not need to, like, go to these lengths to be this goddamn annoying in everything. And then, Rebel Wilson, who I think is really funny. I mean, I really like Rebel Wilson and other stuff I've seen her, and I think she's hilarious in Pitch Perfect. But, like, I don't know what. Like, this is just awful. Like, she is not funny. And, like, here's something else that I hate. And I think... It even happens sometimes in, like, the MCU movies, and I hate it when it happens there, and I just hate it, is when you're doing something, like, so we just talked about, like, the Batman movies and how they feel, like, timeless. Like, I think part of that is that they don't rely on, like, modern sensibilities, particularly with, like, humor. Yeah. So, I hate when something is, like, being timeless, and then out of nowhere... you'll cut to, like, a very modern thing that probably won't hold up. And I feel like all of Rebel Wilson's humor in this is that, where there'll be something going on, and then they cut to Rebel Wilson, and she's just, like, ad-libbing and just saying, like, what's happening? And it's like, okay...
Did he get neutered? He's hitting high notes.
Oh, exactly. Like, that is such, like, 2019, like improv humor that in 20 years, like, everyone's gonna be like, what was that? It just, like, and that's only humor that works right now.
Yeah.
And even with, like, said MCU, because, like, I'm thinking of, like, Black Panther when Shuri, like, does the what are those joke. And it's like, that's not, like, this movie is so timeless, and yet there's a character that yells, what are those?
Yeah,
like,
I mean, even at the time of that movie, that was dated.
Yeah, like,
I know what you're saying.
I hate that kind of stuff. It's like, just, like, be, like, consistently funny, you know what I mean? Like, and I think that was also a big problem people had with, I'm just going to talk about everything but cats. I have nothing to say about cats. But, like, the 2016 Ghostbusters reboot.
Oh, yeah.
Which was that it was all that early 2000s kind of now dated style of, like, Judd Apatow improv, like, cringe humor that just goes on for so long or whatever. Like, 40-year-old virgin humor where it's like you can't do that stuff in, like, franchises or, like, big IPs because it just doesn't stand the test of time. Like, if you're making an indie film, and that's the point of the indie film, is that everything has that style of humor, that's one thing. But to just, like, randomly cut to that style of humor in something that doesn't feel like that at all is totally off-putting. It's so frustrating.
Yeah. Well, especially, like, in this musical film where, I mean, in theory, the stakes are high, I guess. It just felt very forced to have these, like, cuts to comedy, and, like, yeah, as you mentioned, like, that happens a lot in Marvel. Like, I know that's kind of their whole thing. They're, like, fast-paced and comical, and that's why we all enjoy them or whatever. But, like, sometimes it's just a little bit, like, hitting you over the head with it. It's like,
for sure.
This was uncalled for. It's not like we needed this, like, one-liner or comedy break. Like, it doesn't add anything to the film. Like, I don't know if you're doing this so, like, the actor who contributed it can get, like, a pat on the back for, like, a funny joke, but it's just, like, it definitely didn't need to be there. We could have let Rum Tum Tugger sing his horny song without, like, the joke about him being neutered.
Well, even when James Corden is singing a song, and then you get to the part where they need to, like, use the catapult, and they can't because he's fat, and there's just, like, a fucking 1-minute interlude of him being like, that wasn't gonna work, really thought that was gonna work, come on, you gotta do this, whatever, and it's like, that's not funny. Like, it's not... You're just stating things. You know what I mean? You just stopped to, like, state things in a sarcastic voice. That doesn't make it funny. Like, it's not, I don't know. It's not a joke. Like, there's no punchline. You're fat. Like, that's the punchline, I guess. Like...
Well, like, yeah, as we alluded to before, like, the cast is so star-studded. Like, it's interesting because, like, it is clear that those two characters who you mentioned already so many times were there just for, like, the comic relief.
Yeah.
And, like, they were, I'm sure, in the musical. Obviously, none of us have, like, seen the actual musical, and I don't think we ever will. But I assume those two characters were in the original musical that came out in the early 80s, I think 81.
Mm-hmm.
So they had to have them in the film, whatever. But, like, everyone else in the movie, I don't know why they would have signed up. As we mentioned, this is clearly horrible. But, like, you know, you had Idris Elba, Dame Judi Dench, Sir Ian McKellen signing up for this willingly, Taylor Swift. And, like, at least when they signed on, I think they assumed they would be contributing something more, like, I don't know, consequential as opposed to, like, James Corden and Rebel Wilson. And especially, like, since the movie came out, since it didn't do great, like, it lost them, like, over $100 million. $114 million, approximately, for Universal Pictures. James Corden and Rebel Wilson specifically have, like, made fun of this. They dressed up for the Oscars.
Yeah, I remember that.
Yeah, they dressed up in their costume for the Oscars and just straight up shit-talked it. So I don't know why they signed up if, like, I don't know, they didn't, like, care about it. Like, obviously everyone in it was disappointed that it lost so much money and, like, wasn't critically acclaimed as they expected it to be. But no one else straight up came out and was like, yeah, this is shit. Like, what a shitty movie. Ha ha ha.
See,
except for them two.
I think that was them trying to save face.
Yeah.
Me too.
I doubt that they, like, I feel like James Corden was like, oh, this is such an opportunity for me.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Because I'm just some lowly comedian who, like, knows he isn't funny, so this could really, like, this musical role could really elevate me.
Yeah.
So I feel like him and Rebel Wilson, after the fact, like, shit-talking the movie,
Yeah.
and no one else doing that, at least as publicly as they did, was just sort of them, like, laughing at themselves. But
Yeah.
I still feel they had faith in it at the time.
Sure. I mean, I also think, like, why did so many people get involved? Like, to what you alluded to, Carol, like, this was a really long-running
Yes.
thing. And so I think there probably was this thing from people of, like, well, yeah, it's not good, but, like, it's always successful for some reason. So, like,
Yeah.
why not be a part of something that's successful? Like, even though you, like, I don't think Ian McKellen read the script for this and was like, I have to be in this movie. But I think it's, like, Ian McKellen being a theater person is like, oh yeah, Cats, that's that
Yeah.
successful thing, so I should also do that successful thing.
It's an established musical.
It's a thing.
Well, interestingly, while we're talking about the casting, Dame Judi Dench, Dame Judi Dench, Dame Judi Dench, was cast in the, like, original, like, OG 1981 London stage play as Jenny Anydots, which is Rebel Wilson's character, and Grisabella, both of them. I don't know how. But she tore her Achilles right before it went on and was never able to be in it. So she is the one person where I was like, okay, it makes sense. Because she plays Old Deuteronomy, which is, like, the character who, like, decides who goes to the heavy side layer, aka
Heaven.
But in the stage play, Old Deuteronomy is always a male, and they made it female just for her.
Wow.
So just some background info. And also Anne Hathaway was almost in this, but she said no, simply due to scheduling conflicts.
Right.
Who was she gonna play?
I don't know. It just said considered for a role, but passed due to scheduling.
Interesting.
And Hugh Jackman was also offered a role, but he
he
just
was.
straight up turned it down.
Good.
See, okay, here's some. I think Hugh Jackman and James Corden are, like, opposite ends of the coin. Because, like, they're both, like, nerdy theater people.
Oh, yeah.
But
musical men.
Hugh Jackman, like, very charismatic. Everyone loves him.
Yeah.
Super nice guy. And when he
Talented.
is in a musical, it's always successful.
Okay,
Like,
arguably James Corden is talented.
he can sing. I mean, he can sing.
Yeah.
But,
Okay,
like,
I mean, he's musically talented. I just don't like his presence.
Yeah.
yes.
Yeah.
So, like, but, like, Hugh Jackman, obviously, like, Les Mis or even The Greatest Showman, which I haven't seen. I've heard is
Interesting.
I heard it's not, like, objectively great, but it's just, like, a fun watch.
I've seen it once and I'm good for life.
Yeah. But I think James Corden is, like, the opposite because he's just, like, the kiss of death. Because, like, all I've seen him in music, like, he's this theater person who I've seen in Cats and Into the Woods, which are probably, like, my least two, like, two movies that, like, I almost walked out of Into the Woods and I wanted to walk out of Cats because I was just so baffled. I was like, I don't fucking like any of this. So, yeah, I don't know. It's just, it's funny to me.
I didn't know he was in Into the Woods.
Yeah, he's in Into the Woods.
He was.
Yeah.
Like, What's so disappointing is Tom. Obviously, like we said, Tom Hooper's the director.
Yeah.
Of all of the long-running musicals, why was this the second? Like, why was this next after Les Mis?
Well, for the development of this, like, Universal has owned the rights to it for, like, ever. And they've tried to make it multiple times. And, like, as we mentioned before, this would have been more successful as an animated feature because it's cats singing and dancing, and cats can't do that. And so they were trying to create an animated version of it for a very, very long time, and just, like, nothing ever came of it for some reason, and so then they started thinking about the possibility of doing it live action, and just, Tom Hooper came forward and was like, yeah, I'd do it, and they considered doing it with heavy prosthetics, like, more similar to how they do it on, like, Broadway and live, but then he was like, we'd lose all the emotion, so it had to be VFX.
Yeah, that's a very weird call.
Which was his conclusion, and I don't know when's a good time to get into this, I guess now, but, like, I feel very, very bad for the VFX team.
Yeah, me too.
Because obviously, it looks weird. We can all agree it doesn't look great, but, like, I feel like there's no way, even with the most talented VFX person, to make a person standing upright look like a cat dancing ballet.
Yeah. No,
So-
like, the actual VFX, the quality of the VFX is fine.
Yeah,
It's just the design.
Yeah, and it looks super bizarre. But the studios that did it are the same studios who worked on redoing Sonic the Hedgehog. Remember when
Yes,
the
I
original
remember that.
trailer
I remember that,
for
yeah.
Sonic came out and it was really weird? So they hired the same studio who redid Sonic
Wow.
the Hedgehog, MPC Vancouver. So Canadian.
Canadian, yeah. Go
Yeah,
us.
we get a lot of theater stuff, especially animation. But yeah, so they did it, and apparently the staff had to work 80 to 90-hour weeks to try and finish the effects by the release date. And Tom Hooper apparently was very rude to them and would just send them rude emails about their work and insult them during conferences. And they had, where did I have the details? I think they had 4 months straight to work on the trailer. And then, 6 months to work on the trailer, and then 4 months to do the whole film. 6 months for the
Jesus
trailer and
Christ.
4 months for the film. And then Tom Hooper just, like, fully shit on them. Because he kept, apparently, because I guess he didn't understand, the original trailer was 2 minutes, took them 6 months, and then 4 months to finish the 110-minute film. And the visuals were completed just hours before the premiere because Tom Hooper kept emailing them because apparently he doesn't understand how VFX work and would just ask them to make a change that would result in them actually having to redo the whole film, and he, like, kept doing that as he got drafts. He's like, oh, actually, like, make this change, and, like, he thought it'd be something easy and take 2 seconds, but it resulted in them having to go back and redo everything they'd done so far. It seemed like absolute hell for all of them involved, and I feel really bad because obviously everyone shits on the VFX and it, like, makes it seem like they're a direct fault, but I think it can't be just them to blame because it was also, like, the fault of Tom Hooper not understanding VFX and all the work that goes into it, and then also just, like, explicitly shitting on them for doing a bad job when he was partially to blame because he was the one telling them what to do. And having them do a whole movie in 4 months.
That's
and the trailer
ridiculous.
took 6.
I also remember, like, when James Corden and Rebel Wilson came out at the Oscars and, like, did their whole thing, there was a lot of pushback of people being like, that's not cool of you to, like, come out in your costumes and, like, shit on the VFX people. Like, it's not their fault. Like,
their criticisms were on the VFX people?
Well, they kind of came out and were just like, I forget exactly what they said, but it was something along the lines of, like, the prosthetics being better than, like, weird visual effects or something like that.
Well, because they were presenting the award for Best Visual Effects.
Yeah, that's what it was.
Oh.
And so they mocked the film CGI. But everyone was really mad afterwards because MPC Vancouver closed after the film's production, and a bunch of the people who actually worked on this film were laid off. So, like, it was also, like, I don't know, kicking a horse when it's down. What's it saying?
Kicking a dead horse.
Yeah. So that was most of the pushback.
Yeah. Well, yeah, I mean, shitty of them to do. That's not cool.
Yeah.
Yeah. So should we talk about Idris Elba?
Oh, yeah.
McCavity?
Mr. McCavity.
That's a dumb name, first of all.
All of these names are dumb.
That's the dumbest, though, I think. And also, I don't...
Like a cavity, because it's a bad thing?
Yeah, I don't know.
But it's like a cavity for McDonald's.
McCavity. At one point in this movie, he just has magic. And you guys were just watching me, and then he just used magic, and I looked over and I was like, what the fuck
They
just
never
happened?
explain it. Never ever.
He has magical evil powers.
Yeah.
Okay, I'll say something we should touch on, like, his design earlier in the movie when he's got his coat and his hat and stuff.
Yeah.
Like, doesn't look awful.
Yeah.
I mean, like, the
He
design,
doesn't look
like,
a gangster.
yeah, he
But
looks
it's a
like
fur
gangster.
coat.
Okay, a lot of these cats wear fur, and it's
Yeah.
really freaking
It's very
weird.
morbid.
It's weird. But just in terms of, like, the visual
Yeah.
of it, it's not, like, off-putting. It's like, okay, this is your design. But then when he shows up at the end for his final number to try to get into heaven, he's naked,
Yeah.
and it looks
It's
awful.
so bizarre.
And we talked about this, like, okay, so Idris Elba obviously is a black man.
Yeah.
So they, like, made his cat black, but, like, unfortunately, he is, like, the only cat in the movie that is entirely one color. Like, there
Yeah.
was no shading to his fur or texture or
Yeah.
anything. It was, like, because he's black, we have to make it all black. Otherwise people will say we're being racist, but, like, it looks like shit. Like, just have him keep the jacket on and the hat. Like, I don't understand. It looks so bad.
Why did he have to be naked?
Yeah, I don't...
I also think that's an argument for all of the cats, because they all just look, like, too smooth.
Yeah,
Like,
I mean,
they
none of the
gave
textures.
them, like, fake fur, but
Yeah.
they still look weird, and especially since, like, they had to smooth out, like, because these are humans, they smoothed out, like, breasts and
Mhm.
bulges, and so
Yeah.
it's all just so bizarre.
Yeah.
And then you have cats like Rebel Wilson, who for some reason in her intro number, like, zips off what you think is just her normal cat skin to have, like, a glittery vest and shorts underneath with more cat fur.
Yeah.
And, like, Jennifer Hudson wears, like, this tattered fur coat, and Old Deuteronomy has a huge fur coat, and it's just very bizarre because I don't know what they're supposed to look like. Like, some of them wear shoes, some of them don't. Some of them have jewelry and
Yeah.
collars, and others don't, and it's just a very weird visual world that they've created for
Yeah.
us.
Speaking of... Okay, that's a great point. Speaking of the world, okay?
It's London, England.
It's London, but all of the... Like, there's so many background shots where, like, businesses and restaurants have cat puns.
Yes.
But this is a human world.
Yes.
And the cats are just supposed to be regular cats.
I didn't even
Yeah.
notice that. Are there really cat
Yeah.
puns? Oh
Oh,
my god.
how did you not notice?
I
all
was
of
like not even paying attention.
There's
Or
a
even-
poster for the cat and the canary up in,
Yeah.
What's the big square with all the lights in London called?
Like Parliament Hill?
No, they have like a Times Square, but like
Oh,
Oh,
I don't know the
version.
name.
I
don't
can't
know what
remember.
it's called. But anyway, they have that, and
The
that's where
London
like their introduction number ends up.
Yeah.
And they have like the cat and the canary, and behind them like a poster turns into McCavity, but before.
Yeah.
What did it said something from a play? It was supposed to be a nod to T.S. Eliot for some
Oh,
reason.
great.
Oh, by the way, I think it's Shaftesbury Avenue. Is what you're talking about.
Yeah,
That's
that
like the
sounds
Times
great.
Square of London.
Yeah.
But even the fact that there's a milk bar.
Okay, yeah, well, yeah, the milk bar, obviously, that was something I was like, this is dumb.
Like, this is a human world
Yeah.
still.
Oh, it's called Piccadilly Circus.
Oh, Piccadilly.
Oh,
Yeah.
okay. I'm thinking of a different street.
I don't know, there's lots of streets. They mention them all. They're on the Thames at some point. Every song that introduces all the cats, they all say specifically what, like, London neighborhood they're from for some reason. They just want you to know where they're at.
So, something else about the world. Two things. One, like, every shot in this movie, like, when they're outside, somehow we're always in front of, I feel like, either the milk bar or the Egyptian theater.
Yeah.
And it reminded me so much of Batman 89, because Batman 89 is built, obviously, on a sound, like, Gotham was built on a soundstage, and every third shot, you're in front of the Monarch Theater, where Bruce's parents died. It's like, no matter where you are, like, a character will turn and the Monarch Theater is there, because it's all just, like, one block of a soundstage. In the Batmobile chase, I swear to God, they go by it, like, 3 times. It's hilarious. So that reminded me of that. But then the other thing we should talk about is, like, the scale. Because I didn't know this until we started watching, but the cats in this movie are supposed to be the size of cats. I thought this was I thought this was just a cat world.
Yeah,
But no.
To quote Marco, when we started watching, he was like, I thought this was like a BoJack Horseman thing.
Yeah.
Where it was like anamorphic, like cat people in a human world. But no, they're supposed to be like cats.
Yes.
And the scale just doesn't make sense a lot of the time.
No. Well, because they start the film, as we mentioned, with a live human woman dropping off a cat. First of all, in a bag, which she chucks into an alleyway. That's pretty brutal. But yeah, so we know that it is a world with humans.
Mm-hmm.
And so that the cats are cat-sized. But obviously then there's many instances where that doesn't seem to make sense. Like, I don't know, we see Rebel Wilson has trained, like, mice and cockroaches to help her, like, perform with her, but the mice look like they are the size of cockroaches.
Yeah.
And they're also human.
Yeah, and played by children, specifically. And then we see the cats, like, walking across the bridge in which they look like giants, or at least human size, and, like, one of the cats, Magical Mr. Mistopheles, does magic, and he has, like, a deck of cards, and they are tiny. They'd probably be the size of, like, I don't know, a mosquito if, like, a cat was holding them up.
Yeah.
And, like, they're all wearing clothes also, which is bizarre, and it's like, where do you get that made to, like, fit a cat? You have, like, a top hat for them, and, like, pants for some of them.
Shoes.
Yeah.
I also
it's
hate,
really weird.
like, how their hands are just human hands.
Yeah.
Like,
Mm-hmm.
the only thing cat about them is the fur and, like, the ears and tail.
Yes.
And everything else is just this weird, like, amorphous humanoid body.
Well, okay, what about, like, the railway instructor, engineer guy? Like, what's he all about? Like, does he work on this train? Like, I don't understand. He's a cat. Like,
well, I think that train sequence was supposed to be, like, an imaginary thing, because then they cut back to the train station as if they never actually left.
Yeah.
Still.
But why does he have a conductor's hat?
Why does he have a conductor's hat? Yeah.
Why do they call him the
And
conductor?
even in his song, they say, like, the train can't leave without me. And it's like, why?
Yes,
You're
it
just a
can.
cat.
You're just a cat, yeah.
He's a cat who rides on a train that delivers mail overnight.
Okay, like, serious question. Like, why... Like, obviously when you're adapting... Yeah, but obviously when you're adapting anything,
Yes.
you can make changes to, like, make stuff make sense.
Yeah.
So, change number one. Okay, Marco, Universal has hired you to make cats. Great. Change number one. They're just fucking... This is just a cat world.
Sure.
There is no need for humans. This is a cat world.
Yeah.
And everything is just relative to the cat, so we don't have to worry about scale or dumb shit like that.
Yeah.
The train conductor can be a train conductor, and it makes sense. Like, what? I don't understand. The only reason to have this be human is so that way the one human can throw the protagonist cat at the beginning of the movie, and then there are those two cats that are like cat burglars
Yes.
that steal from humans.
Yeah.
But like they could just be stealing from other cats.
True.
Yeah. So it doesn't matter at all.
Well, even then they said that Jennifer Hudson's cat used to perform at nightclubs.
Mm-hmm.
It's like, okay, did she perform as a cat for cats or as a cat for humans? Like, the humans wouldn't understand her singing, right? Like, we don't assume that these cats who sing in human words are understood by the humans of London, right?
Yeah, probably not.
And would people watch a cat on stage just meowing? I wouldn't.
No.
Even if they were in, like, a nice fur coat, I don't think I'd pay to watch that at any club.
Yeah, it doesn't make a whole lot of sense.
No.
And speaking of stages, like that one, so Ian McKellen, as we said, is in this movie.
Yes.
And
Yes.
he has a stage performance, but the stage is proportional to a cat.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
So did they build infrastructure?
Mm.
Or is this just a tiny little stage that they found?
They must have built it. I think
So-
they built everything. Right?
No, I mean not for the movie. Like,
Oh,
did the cats build this place?
Because he did look like he was appropriately sized for the stage.
That's what I mean.
But I think we're supposed to assume that he should have looked small, but once again, their scaling is just non-existent.
Because they just wanted to use an actual stage.
Yeah.
Instead of
To make
building
it
a
easy.
giant stage.
Yeah.
Yeah, well, because it looked like they broke into, like, a real, like, theater.
Well, they break into the
The
Egyptian theater,
yeah.
right? So that's
Which I think we're supposed to assume is a real theater. But also, this theater cat has played in plays, and once again, who are the plays for? Maybe at night these cats have their, like, take over the world of humans.
Maybe it's like a
Maybe
Bug's
that's
Life.
what we're supposed to assume.
yeah.
Yeah.
I don't know. We should also mention this all takes place in one night, apparently.
Yes.
I mean, it's totally plausible because it's all just people introducing themselves. So
Yeah.
really, like,
You could do that in a night
you
easily.
can do that in a night.
Yeah. We introduced ourselves and it took us 5 seconds.
Yeah.
So
We didn't even sing about
Didn't
it.
This
have to
whole
make a song
podcast,
of
we
it.
should have just kept introducing ourselves over and over.
We never talk about the film.
Yeah.
Oh my god.
Yeah. So I guess maybe let's talk about some of the plot elements. So after everyone introduces themselves, okay. So Mr. McCavity
Yes.
wants to go to heaven.
Yes. Everyone wants to go to heaven.
Yeah, but he like really wants to,
Yeah.
and he never gets picked.
but in
He's
this
the
movie,
evil Idris Elba, in case anyone isn't
Yeah.
following. Yeah.
So his plan is to use his magic to capture everyone that he considers to be like better than him.
Yeah.
And then once they're all captured, old Deuteronomy will have to let him go to heaven because there just won't be anyone else.
Yes.
but why is he the only one with magic powers?
Well, and the
Yeah.
magician also has
Yes.
magic powers.
Okay, yeah, but like why like before you find that out,
Yeah.
why is he the only cat with like telekinesis and like the ability to make people like teleport?
I don't know.
We never know.
Right,
Also, why is he evil? Do we know that?
because he's the villain of the movie.
But like, what did he do? Jennifer Hudson, like, what did he
Oh.
do to her? Like, what's that all about?
See, I imagined it as because Jennifer Hudson is like cast away from the rest of the Jellicle cats because at one point she decided to work for McCavity.
Mm-hmm.
That's all we know. I imagine she was in the Taylor Swift role.
Yeah, I think so too.
And then I don't know, McCavity didn't think she was doing a good enough job and like cast her aside, and then because she already had gone to the quote unquote dark side, the rest of the cats didn't want to take her back in. But yeah, I don't know what explicitly he did to make him evil, because even in this cat / human world, there's like wanted posters for him, for this cat.
Oh yeah, that's true. There are wanted.
There's
Yeah.
wanted posters.
Are there cat crimes?
What?
They mentioned that Scotland Yard.
Yeah, they do mention
Yeah.
that Scotland Yard is after him, and
Yeah.
also that he's
But he's a
committed.
cat.
He's committed every like human crime or something. That's like
Every
a lyric.
human crime. That's dark.
There's a lot of human crimes.
Yeah, and he's done all of them though. Don't worry about it.
Yikes.
And Scotland Yard is after him,
Yeah.
which it's not just once. Like they say that multiple times,
Yeah.
which makes me
The
laugh
Taylor
really
Swift
hard.
song.
Yeah, yeah, Taylor Swift song. We should mention Taylor Swift.
Tom Hooper loves Taylor Swift.
Yeah, well, good for
Why?
him. I
She
don't
was
know.
considered for the role of Eponine, and then was given this role in Cats with no audition.
Wow.
They were just like, here you go, you can be. Her name is Bomballerina.
That's good. That's a good name.
That was
Almost like ballerina, but a
Yeah,
bomb. I
but a
don't
bomb.
know.
She's a bomb. Are we all Taylor Swift haters here?
I mean, I don't
I'm
know
not
enough
a
about her to be a hater.
I'm not a lover.
Okay.
I'm
just-
a neutral.
I
I
really
used to
don't
be
care.
a lover, and then saw her in concert and wasn't a fan, and then stopped caring.
Yeah, I'm not a fan. I don't get it.
Yeah.
I don't get it. Not that she's untalented,
No.
but there's, why is she
One of the biggest
one of the
pop
biggest stars
I
on
don't know.
earth? I don't know.
Yeah.
And yeah, I just don't find her very like engaging to watch like on film either. Even like she's in New Girl for like 5 seconds. Do you remember that?
No, I do not.
when
remember at all.
when Cece is gonna get married to the guy that her parents set her up with.
Oh, did she object?
Yeah, or something, and then she ends up with that guy, and it's just like this
So-
throwaway thing where Taylor Swift is in it for like
She's
5
not
seconds.
a good actor.
No, she's not.
Sorry, I whispered that. I don't know if the audience can hear me, but I'm a bit
Well-
like, I don't know. I know she's a lot of fans. I know we don't have a lot of listeners, but I don't want anyone to shit on me. But she's a horrible actor.
Like singing aside.
She's
Yeah.
not an actor at all. though.
Yeah, exactly.
But she
So
still tries to. She was in a whole ass movie. You know when they like put out all those like Valentine's Day, New Year's Eve,
Yeah,
like all
yeah,
those
yeah,
movies
yeah.
with all the celebrities. She
Mhm.
straight up acted in one of them as one of the main characters. She was bad. I mean, all of those movies in general were bad. I watched all of them ashamedly.
yeah,
But she was bad.
yeah, of course she was. Yeah, she's not an actor.
But she
I
still
mean,
tries to do it. And in this, she has to put on like, I mean, she doesn't have to. She's singing the whole time, so she could just sing as herself. But she puts on like a horrible in and out British accent that we commented on.
mhm.
And her character is like, she's just a lackey of McCavity and gives everyone catnip so they pass out and can't perform. But they like, they were hoping when they signed her on also, like, she'd bring her fans to, like, see it and, like, help improve sales.
Yeah.
But because she was only in one song, she felt weird, like, telling all of her fans to be in it, to be like, yeah, come watch this 2-hour movie where I'm in it for 5 minutes.
Mm-hmm.
So that didn't even work out for them. But she was, like, a very, very, very big part of the trailer. Because
I remember
they were hoping that alone would draw people in, but, I mean, they still lost over $100 million, so, you know, I guess it didn't work.
Yeah. And this was pre-COVID.
Yes, no, this was when we could have all gone to theaters to see it. We just chose not to.
Yeah. I don't, like... okay, and also with that scene, like, McCavity... Okay, so all the cats have to perform.
Yeah.
This is, like, them making their case for why they should be the one to go to heaven, right? Is their performance or whatever. But, like, McCavity doesn't even do his own performance. Like, Taylor Swift does it, and then he shows up to sing one line at the end.
Yeah.
And so it's like...
And he's like, I'm the most talented.
Yeah.
Take me to heaven.
And I'm like, dude, you didn't even sing your own song, bro. Like, if you had done that, maybe she would have considered you. Maybe that's why he's evil, because he just makes other people sing for him. I don't know. I don't get it. Like, it's weird.
I think that was because, like, I don't know how it is in the play, but maybe it's because Idris Elba isn't a fantastic singer. He's not really...
Yes, yeah.
He's barely singing. Like, it's more just, like, talking.
Yeah, like talk singing.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Even, like, the lines that he does, quote, unquote, sing. So I feel like that might have been a reason why.
It's possible.
Again, like, I don't know if that character in the actual musical actually sings his own song.
I got no idea. Yeah, I don't know.
Okay, so I was just rereading through my notes, and I wanted to mention that specifically Universal hoped the film would appeal to young women as counter-programming against Star Wars The Rise of Skywalker.
Yeah, good plan.
That's why they put, like, Taylor Swift so much in the marketing. Because they were like, women will see this when boys go see Star Wars. Because that's still the world we're in. Where women like music and men like Jedi.
Star Wars
here's a question.
Literally has a female protagonist. It's about a woman.
I know.
Here's a question, though. Would you rather rewatch this or Rise of Skywalker?
Oh, Star Wars.
Never seen Rise of Skywalker.
I could not, I'm telling you right now, I could not sit through this again. Ever.
I feel like I'd ironically rather watch this. I really would never want to rewatch Rise of Skywalker. There's nothing in it for me. Like, it's just such a shitty movie. This is also a shitty movie, but I can laugh at it and, like, get drunk.
I feel like, at least with Star Wars, there is always for me, an added layer, even with the worst ones, of like, oh, Star Wars. Like, what a silly thing, George Lucas, and, like, it's kind of ridiculous, and...
But he's so removed from it at this point.
Yeah, it's true. But, I mean, how about that line where Poe says, somehow Palpatine is returned? Like, just that line alone is funnier than anything.
I thought you were going to say the total ripoff of Avengers Endgame, where she's like
yeah.
I am all the
Jedi.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, just for the somehow Palpatine is returned, and
yeah, I forgot about that.
And then, like, the lesbian kiss that was, like, in the
Out of
background,
focus in the background.
and Disney was like, it's our first lesbian kiss in a movie or whatever.
They put a lesbian kiss in the background?
Yeah, this was
it was a big deal. Not a big
Lord.
I mean, yeah, they like talked about it. It was, like, in the news. They're like, there are gonna be, like, gay characters in Star Wars officially, finally.
Yeah, and we were like,
Finn and Poe.
It has to be.
Yeah. But no. After they win at the end, there's just these two women that hug and kiss.
Okay.
Yeah.
Anyway, that's pretty hilarious.
Okay.
Well, this movie doesn't have any gay characters. So.
Yeah, true.
Yeah, it was also really bizarre because, like, as I mentioned when we were watching, I kept expecting, like, there were moments where they celebrated. I would expect them to, like, go in for a hug, forgetting that they're cats. So they just, like, rub their faces against each other.
Yeah.
Apparently, Taylor Swift said they went to, like, cat school where they, like, crawled around for hours and, like, hissed at each other.
Well, that's dumb.
So that was a product of that cat school, I guess. There was also them just rubbing faces a lot.
I gotta be honest, I'm really surprised Jared Leto wasn't in this movie. Because this seems, like, right up his alley. Just, like, pretentious,
yeah, really
like...
jumping into the role.
Yeah, like, I like, learned so much about being a cat to prepare for this.
Maybe it's because you can't sing.
Maybe, but even, yeah,
Wait,
that's probably what.
He's in a band.
Oh, yeah! 30 Seconds to Mars. He's like,
I thought everyone says that he's, like, not good in it.
No, I think that people don't like that band more just because it's, like,
Jared Leto.
generic like early 2000s rock. Like it's just it's a nothing band. It's like every
he can
rock
sing.
song. Yeah, I mean he has a decent enough voice. Like
Okay.
he's not a bad singer, but it's more just like the band itself is nothing. So.
But as we talked about how, like, I don't know, nothing this film was, and looking through my notes, Andrew Lloyd Webber himself was critical of the film, calling it ridiculous. Saying the problem with the film was that Tom Hooper decided that he didn't want anyone involved in it who was involved in the original show. He later revealed in an interview with the Daily Telegraph that I wrote to the head of Universal and said, quote, "You've got a car crash on your hands unless you get a grip on this thing," end quote, a year before they made it, and he didn't even get a reply.
I mean, he wasn't wrong, but I get what he's saying, not from the perspective of if he was involved, it would have been a dramatic masterpiece, but I think, like, obviously...
But even then, he was kind of involved because he wrote that song with Taylor Swift. I can't imagine he was completely locked out of the room.
No, I'm sure he wasn't totally locked out, but I think, like, probably what he's getting at is more just the idea of, like, missing the point and, like, taking it too seriously is, like, what the issue was, where he's kind of like, you guys are going down the wrong fucking, like, road with this. This is Cats. This isn't, like, Les Mis. You know what I mean? Like, pull back. Oh, Cats. Okay, so what is a Jellicle cat? Can we figure this out?
Yeah, that's a question.
Okay, so at the very end, when Judi Dench is singing to us about, you know, cats are not dogs.
Yeah. Great moment.
And at the very end, she says to Victoria, "You are a dear little cat. You're officially a Jellicle cat, a dear little cat." Whenever you Google, like, what a Jellicle cat is, usually it comes up that it's a dear little cat, I think because of that line.
Okay.
But, like, how are they not all Jellicle cats?
I forgot. Okay, so apparently, I don't know if it was Andrew Lloyd Webber's daughter. Does he have a daughter?
I don't know.
I think so, yeah.
Then I think it was his daughter that, like, as a child, she would call cats, like, dear little cats. And I think that's... But, like, when she was young and, like, with her accent, it sounded like Jellicle Cat. And I think that's how he came up with the name.
Oh.
I could be wrong, but I'm pretty sure I've heard that.
That sounds kind of familiar. I feel like I've heard that on YouTube somewhere.
But the term Jellicle is directly from the book of T.S. Eliot poetry that he based it on. The Old Possum's Book of Practical Cats.
Interesting.
Yeah.
That's okay.
Yeah, so when you Google what it is, other than just saying it's a dear little cat, it comes up that they're just a fictional type of feline from, like, the T.S. Eliot book.
Oh, you know what? Maybe it was T.S. Eliot's child.
Oh, you know what? It probably was T.S.
It must
Eliot.
be.
Yeah.
Because Jellicle makes... What is that?
Yeah, it's not a word.
Another article says, a Jellicle cat is basically a regular house cat, but more magical and more musical. Thank you so much.
I like how no one knows. There's just no explanation for it.
Specifically a scruffy type of cat that was first introduced in T.S. Eliot's Old Possum Book of Practical Cats. But I don't really have much more than that.
So
it's a cat. A Jellicle cat is a cat.
So there's a spectrum of how musical cats are. Some are not at all, and some are musical cats.
I suppose, but all the cats we saw in this film
Are musical
were Jellicle.
cats.
Yes.
We didn't see a single normal cat.
We did not, no.
See, that would have been maybe important to show us, like, a non-Jellicle cat.
Yeah.
So we can, like, differentiate.
But then you just have this giant house cat. Because, like, if the scale is supposed to be correct, it would be the same size as the human cats.
Yes.
But also, like, what makes them able to stand on their hind legs?
I like you said, it should just been a full animated movie.
Okay, well,
Yeah.
for more context, as I Google, Jellicle Cats was specifically from Eliot's 1936 poem, Pollicle Dogs and Jellicle Cats,
Pollicle
in which,
Dogs.
I think, as you alluded to, Dan, Jellicle Cats is reportedly a contraction of Dear Little Cats, and Pollicle Dogs was a contraction of Poor Little Dogs. So, if that helps.
Weird.
We still don't know.
How long have we been recording for?
An hour.
There are movies that are an hour long.
Okay. Is there anything?
I think I said all my notes. Except that I can also mention, if anyone's intrigued, like, because the cast is, like, all these really, really famous people, you might be like, who is actually, like, I don't know, Victoria, the quote-unquote main character.
Oh.
It's a very talented ballet dancer who was born in Kenya to a Kenyan mother.
Oh.
But one of the main producers was called Deborah Hayward, and, like, the girl who played the lead actress is Francesca Hayward, so I initially thought that it was, like, the daughter of one of the producers, and I was like, are you kidding? Not only is this movie shit, but the lead is, like, just someone's daughter, and I deeper dived into it, and that was not the case. They're unrelated. They just have the same last name, so I was like, thank God, because that would have made me feel really shitty.
Yeah, that would have been bad.
If on top of it all, they were like, we're just going to hire my daughter, because she just happens to be a talented ballerina, it'll be fine. But no, the producer's, like, a white British lady, and, like, I mean, Francesca is also, like, white, but half Kenyan, so, you know, not related at all, because this white woman is not a Kenyan mother. In case anyone was confused.
Alright, well, good to know. Good to know it wasn't pure nepotism. That's always nice to hear.
Yeah, not in this case. In many other cases, sure. Not in this one.
Yeah.
Yeah, she does nothing in this movie.
Yes. She
Like-
dances well, but her
Yeah.
character has nothing to do, except lead us through the introduction of all the characters.
Yeah, she's just the point of view character.
Because
Like,
they wouldn't have introduced everyone
Yeah.
if there wasn't a new cat brought to the scene. And in theory, she's
But they
the
would
reason-
have. Because in this
Yeah.
universe, you sing songs about yourself to try
That
and
is
get into
true.
the heaviside layer.
That is true.
So, like, I feel like Jennifer Hudson's character would have been the more feasible protagonist.
actually, she should have just been the protagonist.
Because then they would have developed her more, and she could have had an actual arc instead of a vague redemption arc.
But she only gets redeemed because of Victoria. Because Victoria hears her singing, and at the end of the movie brings her in to be like, you need to do this thing.
So all Victoria did was hear something.
Yes.
And tell someone about it.
Yeah.
Okay.
Exactly. That's exactly what happened.
Excellent agency.
Excellent. And I think that's what makes her a Jellicle Cat by the end of the movie, right? Isn't that like Judi Dench's logic? Is like, oh, you like helped Jennifer Hudson's character like get to where she needs to be, so therefore like you are officially a Jellicle Cat now?
Was she not the whole time?
I don't know, because she says at the end like you are officially a Jellicle Cat or whatever.
Like, in theory, everyone
I knight thee.
seemed to accept her the second she arrived anyway.
I don't know. I don't know. I don't know how this world works.
Yeah, I don't either.
Okay, let's talk about the magician.
Magical Mr. Mistopheles.
Yeah, I can't remember any of their names.
Yeah, me either.
I've already forgotten what his name is.
Well, it is my favorite song, so.
So he's a cat magician.
Yeah.
But he like has actual magic though.
Apparently.
By the end, yeah, when he gains confidence in himself. Come on, look at that arc.
I guess he also has an arc, yeah.
Yeah, he also gets real magic.
Does he though? I mean, he just.
I mean, it's a very basic arc,
Yeah.
but he just needs to believe in himself
Yeah.
to perform real magic.
Weird.
Yeah. And also interesting that they were like, these cats need a magician. Like, they need someone to, like, literally pull mice out of a hat, not rabbits, because
They're too big.
they're almost
too
the
big,
size of
yeah.
cats. Yeah. But mice, on the other hand, even though their scaling every time is very off,
Mm-hmm.
because, like, mice are small, but not as small as they depicted. Yeah, I don't know. He pulled stuff out of his hat and then eventually made another full-ass cat reappear and saved the day. And then made everything float.
Yeah, he did make everything float.
He made everything float.
That was weird.
Yeah.
Since you brought up mice, I want to talk about that scene with Rebel Wilson
Oh, God.
when there's like the cockroaches and the mice and
Yeah.
whatever. I just like, I don't know if it was just me, but obviously like all the visual effects like look weird, but there was something about the like cockroaches when they were walking. They looked like shittily green screen composited in front of Rebel Wilson. So I was very confused because I was like, this is all CG, but it looks like the lighting was off on them or something. Where they look like a different element that just was put in the scene and it didn't match the lighting of the scene and it didn't belong there. And I was like, Jesus Christ, how did you like mess like this up? Like I don't...
Well, it's probably because they we're spending the other 3.5 months doing all the cat stuff.
100%. I mean, knowing that context now, that is
Yeah.
probably what happened. But like, if any of you ever watch the movie again, just like pay attention to those cockroaches.
It's not
They
gonna happen.
don't like, the lighting is totally off compared to Rebel. It looks like green screen composited. It looks terrible.
Well, I just remember before I first saw it, I only saw that scene because it was going around on Twitter with like Rebel Wilson eating the humanoid cockroaches.
Yeah.
Because the cockroaches were also humans in costumes for some reason.
All animals in this movie.
Yeah, so bizarre. And she like knocks them off a table and eats them horrifically. But yeah, I remember that was the first scene I saw, and I was like, I don't know what this film is. I don't want to see it. It looks insane. And here I am.
Oh, here you are.
Reviewing.
Can we talk about the butthole cut?
Yeah.
Okay, so
Okay.
I guess after the movie came out, there was reports that there's apparently a butthole cut of cats,
Yes.
where all the cats like had actual like buttholes that you could see, but they decided that they couldn't do that, so they went and like digitally erased all of the buttholes for the theatrical cut.
That's why it was finished right before it was released.
Yeah.
Those
Which is
damn
maybe
buttholes.
my favorite thing I've ever heard in my life.
Yeah, like in terms of the CG, like I understand why it was such a big like part of the discussion about this film, especially since they specifically talked about like how they had to smooth Jason Derulo down
Oh god.
because his appendage was so large. Supposedly, he loved to talk about that. And like even when they released it, I don't know if I don't think I mentioned this yet, but when they sent it out to theaters, like it was done, ready to premiere. They then, within the first 24 hours of it being out, had to be like, oh, actually, like, we realized, like, there are parts where Judi Dench's hand is fully visible, like,
Yeah.
a whole-ass human hand. So they had to, like, re-render it and resend it out to all the theaters and be like, hey, can you play the new one we sent instead?
Yeah, I remember that.
Yeah, it seemed like a mess. Yeah.
This is like one of the craziest movies to ever exist, I think.
Well,
Like, I think
there were specific, I don't remember what film, I didn't make notes of it because I don't think I ever saw it, but like, there were films that made fun of the idea of this being made into a feature film. Because
really?
of how crazy it was. It was a movie with Will Smith.
Independence Day.
I don't know. But
Why?
The Karate Kid. I'm just naming Will
yeah,
Smith.
no, I don't know.
movies.
It was in a
That's
film with
Jaden
Will
Smith.
Smith.
Jaden Smith. That's Jaden
And
Smith.
like, someone was lying about something and said that like their father was remaking Cats as a film, and everyone was like, this must be a lie because Cats will never be made into a film. And here we are
Weird.
in 2019. Yeah, I don't remember what film it was because I don't know, I didn't see it,
Yeah.
so I didn't write it down, but I remember that being funny.
Cats.
Cats.
Why?
I don't know.
Like, who was this for? Furries?
No, furries didn't like it.
Oh, okay.
Because it's CG.
They
like,
all
what would
came out and said
yeah.
they disapproved. It looked too creepy.
Yeah.
Like
Even
they
for
would have
fur- even for
preferred.
furries.
They would have preferred the stage version.
Yeah, of course.
Okay, I can
yeah.
see
That's the
Yeah.
true the true furry model. But yeah, I don't know who this was for. I don't know why it was made. I just struggle to understand like any decision around this movie.
But it got a 53% audience score on Rotten Tomatoes, so some
That's
people
a
must
lie.
have liked it.
That's ironic. That's an ironic
Like-
53%.
But the fact that it made money, like some people
Well, it
must
didn't
have,
make. I mean, it
No, I
didn't
mean,
lose
like,
them all their money. It made
not-
some money.
like not profit, but
Yes.
the fact that it made revenue is what I mean. Like
Yeah.
there must have been some people going to the theater expecting a good movie out of this.
See, but I don't know if anyone was expecting a good movie because the reason I initially pitched to my friends to watch it is because some people, like comedians who live in LA, whose podcasts I listen to, I saw stories of them watching this in theaters in a pre-pandemic world, and like a huge group of like 20 of them went to the theater, a packed theater, and like we're recording everyone singing and dancing and laughing and jumping along to it. Like I don't think anyone in that theater was expecting
Yeah.
like a good film. I think everyone was just there for like the camp of it.
So is this the first movie ever to have a completely ironic audience?
I think so.
Maybe.
I'm pretty sure this movie is 100% irony. I mean, other than like their room, like in the modern day now.
Yeah.
Like anyone that goes to see the room,
okay,
that's
like
ironic.
Like
but...
a real movie with a budget.
Yeah,
Yes,
a real
yes,
movie with
yes,
a budget,
yes.
not a Tommy Wiseau
not
production.
produced by Wiseau Films.
Yeah.
Well, because apparently some independent theaters host like Rocky Horror Picture Show-esque viewings of Cats now.
Really?
Where they like give the people who come to watch like instructions what to do
That's
at certain
fascinating.
times.
Oh.
Yeah.
Because it's just nowhere near as like when you think about like Rocky Horror and just like the production value in that and the weirdness of it, but not the weirdness like this hurts to watch, but the weirdness of like this is just very specific in weird ways or whatever that you can like enjoy and like have a good time with. But what I think about with this is like it's just odd, like unwatchably, grotesquely odd, where it's like it's just gross. Like everything about it is just gross. It's not like I wouldn't even say campy. It's just like like why does it exist? How does it exist? I don't know. I don't get it.
Who paid for it?
I mean, Universal paid for it.
No,
Universal's done such good work in the past.
Universal was like, okay, Fast and Furious, it's booming right now. What should we invest some of our Fast and Furious profits into? Cats. Let's finally make that Cats movie we've
Time
been
to
thinking
get
about.
Fast and Furious.
Fast and Furious.
Well, also a link to our last episode. Apparently, Michael Caine was almost Old Deuteronomy before they decided to make it
No
a female.
shit.
Yeah, well, I mean, was considered for the role.
That's
I don't
funny.
know if he would have said yes. They
I don't know if
considered
he
like
would've.
Jeremy Irons, Christopher Plummer, Jeffrey Rush, James Earl Jones, John Cleese.
James Earl Jones.
Darth Vader.
Yeah.
John Cleese.
And
Jesus
literally
Christ.
all of like the old men in Hollywood.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Like, they could probably do
All
it.
the old stage actors.
Yeah.
John Cleese.
I mean, congrats to Judi Dench for landing the role, but I'm sure it didn't really go as
Judi
planned.
Dench looks high this whole movie. Like, she genuinely, the whole movie is just like, like she's not acting, she's just standing there smiling.
I mean, I feel like she's acting when she's giving like Christopher Plummer, or not Christopher Plummer, I'm reading it on my list. Sir Ian McKellen, like the sex eyes. Like, I don't know if there's supposed to be a backstory between those two characters, but she's
I don't
giving
know.
him some sexy looks every time he's on stage.
I don't know. Couldn't tell you.
Remember when he finished performing and she just lifted her leg
Yeah,
in the air?
yeah. I don't know.
There was something happening.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, also, can we talk about all the weird grunts and meows and...
Well,
They
yeah.
panted so often.
Panting.
We watched it with closed captions, and it would just every 2 seconds be like panting. The cat's all panting.
Panting. At all
Panting
times
in
panting.
unison. I don't know what that was about.
I don't know.
Ian McKellen lets out like a really weird meow at one point.
He is the weirdest one out of
I think he was warming up.
Yeah,
That was his
but
warm up meow.
oof.
Oh.
It's rough though. Like just to like, yeah.
Hilarious. I mean, yeah, I think honestly we might have talked about it all, guys.
It's unfortunate, but I don't think there's anything else to say.
I don't know if that's unfortunate. You know, we do so many long, in-depth
Yeah,
episodes
it's
about
true.
great films. Sometimes you just gotta, like, watch a movie and shit on it.
Yeah. So that's Cats. I cannot stress this enough. Like I even with like bad stuff we talked about before, like with Mother, let's say, like I would say you should watch Mother and just try and figure it out for yourself and have a good time.
Sure, yeah.
But, like-
because there are some people who can genuinely like Mother and regard it as a good film.
Yeah, and even
We're
for
not them, but
yeah,
there are people.
sure, and for the people that don't, like you'll still like enjoy it. I think it's like
It's
you
not
know.
like unwatchable.
no,
It's like a little infuriating, but
yeah, but that's a part of the fun.
yeah.
But I cannot recommend anyone watch Cats
Mm-mm.
under any circumstance. Like I would, unless you are literally like drunk with like a group of people,
Mm-hmm.
and even then, like just
Even then, you might get COVID.
like yeah, and also like I would just like
Cats is not worth it.
like come in and out of the movie. You know what I mean? Like this
Yeah.
is not.
Like have it on in the background.
Oh my God,
like,
this
a
is-
party.
Yeah, this would be good, yes, at a party
Right?
where it's just on and you can like look at it when you want to, but you can look away when you want
Yes.
to.
Yeah.
Like people are having full conversations
Yes.
outside of the film.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Yeah, because it's other than that, I don't know how you watch this.
I guess I'll just say, like, I would not be offended by someone interrupting this film by talking.
No, absolutely not. Yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
Yep.
All right, are we done?
Yeah, we could tease the next episode because we have like the next, I don't know, 10 planned.
Great. All right, let's tease the next episode.
Just lay out our MCU plans of the next like 10 minutes.
We should put the timeline up on the thing with dates.
We know we can't adhere to dates. Don't give
Yeah,
them
we
that.
definitely can't.
We have busy lives.
Yeah.
But next, I think we agreed is the universe of Bo Burnham.
Yeah. So
Oh,
we're gonna
that's
do
right.
we're gonna do a trilogy of Bo Burnham specials, the ones that are on Netflix, which are called What, Make Happy, and of course Inside, which released this year.
Love him.
I'm very much looking forward to this episode.
I know.
I think this will be the first, besides like the Batman trailer short episode, this will be like our first episode not on a movie or series. Technically.
Yeah.
Yes.
Like these are stand-up specials,
Yeah.
and I think that's going to be very interesting.
Mm-hmm.
Yes.
Yeah.
I'm going to warn you guys now, after we do that episode, I'm probably going to, independently of the podcast, like, try to force you guys to watch Promising Young Woman, because he's in that also.
Yeah,
I didn't
I
really
want to
wanna
watch
think
that
it's-
movie.
I think
Yeah.
it's worth it post.
I just wish it
watching
was
all of his
streaming
stand-up.
somewhere.
Yes.
Yeah, that's the only thing. I'm literally just waiting for it to come to a streaming service I have.
I think it was on Crave. When
What?
when we were looking stuff up.
I'll have to
Like,
check. If
literally
it is, I'll
something.
literally watch it tonight. That's fine. But yeah, I don't know.
But yeah, no, that independently of the podcast, we won't talk about it on there. Obviously, it's completely like he doesn't really have anything to do with it, so it's not what it's about.
Yeah.
But yeah, Bo Burnham.
Great.
Yeah.
I'm excited,
Fun.
guys.
It'll be better than this.
Yeah. I've only ever seen Inside. I haven't seen his other two specials. At least not in full. Like I've probably seen clips on YouTube or whatever.
I'm excited for you to see the other ones because Inside is my favorite, but like it's kind of not even fair because the other ones are actual like
Stand-up.
on a stage
Yeah.
with
yeah,
an
with
audience. Inside is more like it's not a movie, but in a certain light, you could almost view it like a film of someone just trapped in a room.
Yeah.
Whereas the other two specials are very much not that. So I'm looking forward to you seeing like his more traditional stand-up
Yeah.
stuff.
I'm excited.
Especially like since he was so much younger for the other two.
Yeah,
Mhm.
Yeah,
they're
that's
also
fun.
generally thought of as funnier.
Yeah.
Like Inside
Well,
is more of a like
yeah,
like an introspective thing.
Yeah.
but I'm excited.
I'm
That's what we
excited
have.
too.
That's what we have coming up.
Yeah.
That won't be in person anymore, but I'm glad we got to do a couple in person eps.
Yep.
Yeah, and you'll be back not as long this time, not
Yeah,
a year and a half.
Christmas.
So
No.
I don't know. I mean, depending what we have laid out, we might even some
True.
of the stuff we've talked about, we might end up
Possibly.
recording over
We've
Christmas.
planned pretty far ahead. Yeah.
Maybe Shrek. I don't know. Depending
That's a very far away
Should we, like,
tease.
Should we lay out the ones that we've talked about?
We can. I mean,
Yes,
if
we
anyone
could.
cares. So after this, we're doing after Inside, after Bo Burnham, I should say. Sorry, I'm quite not good right now. We're doing a Western episode finally. I've been wanting to do this forever, but we're gonna do specifically two by the same director, and they're modern westerns, and that is Hell or High Water and Wind River.
This will sort of be our second iteration of a double feature of not two movies in the same series, but like
Yeah.
have a connection.
Yes. After that, what's next?
I think the Jump Street movies, right?
Right. Yes.
I thought there was something in between. I could be wrong. Whatever. Well, at some point, yeah, we want to do the Jump Street movies.
Yeah.
We want to do the Shrek franchise.
Yes. We love Shrek.
I think we're missing one thing, but this is all.
There was
I think
something
so.
we talked about yesterday that was on the list.
Oh, the Mummy.
The Mummy.
Oh, the Mummy.
But we don't know when.
We don't know
Like,
when.
We're gonna do that at some
We'll
point.
do
the
that at
Brendan
some
Fraser
point.
Mummy.
Yeah.
These are all things that you can expect to see, expect to hear
Yeah.
in the next handful of months, and yeah.
Yeah, for the first, like, this is the longest we've ever had our episodes planned out.
Yeah,
I
it's
think.
nice. And then I would also assume, no promises, but with James Bond coming out in early November, most likely I will try to get Angelo so him and I can go through our
Oh.
list of every James Bond movie
Oh,
because
God.
we watched all of them and maybe we can talk about that. And then maybe if you guys wanted to join, we could also then just talk about the Craig ones like at the end.
Sure.
Just because
Yeah,
I don't
please
think.
Don't make me
No,
watch
I'm
them
not.
all.
Like Angela and I can go through the old ones, and then we can all maybe talk about the correct ones. And then also, like now, again, fingers crossed, but with movie theaters being open, like we could potentially even do like a
Like a Dune.
quick review of Dune, a
Yeah.
quick review of Spider-Man Far From
Spider-Man.
Home, or
Yeah.
No Way Home. So yeah, hopefully look forward to that stuff, and we can maybe do that. That would be nice.
Yeah.
Yeah.
All right.
All right. Well.
Thanks for listening.
as per usual.
Thanks
Thank you.
for indulging us and talking about cats who walk
We
around.
did our
London.
best.
We
Yeah,
did our best, to make content out of this movie.
But as Marco put it, someone had to do it. And I still think no. No one had to do it.
I think this is the one where no, someone didn't have to do it.
But we did it anyway,
We did it
so
anyway.
enjoy.
We did it for you guys.
You're welcome and cheers.
Cheers.
Cheers.